Hey everybody, Joe Friesen here again with another quick and dirty tutorial. This time it's just a quick tip on when you're doing disc brakes. In particular, I'm working on a 2001 Volkswagen Golf, but this applies to a lot of vehicles' brakes that have disc brakes that have this type of setup where your pads slide on these little slider pads here. So what happens is a lot of the times people will just take the old pad out and slap the new one in, replace this piece, and you know, that's all fine and good usually until you get a lot of corrosion built up in this space here between your slider and the main body of the caliper, whatever this is, hanger. So what I do when I take these apart is usually there's a lot of corrosion in this spot here, and I'll quickly take this apart and see how bad it is. Kind of as expected, these things took a lot of effort to get out of here. I took this thing and hammered on it to get it out, but pull it out of there, and your pins, you know, they're dirty. You can tell they haven't really, you can tell by the way they wear that they haven't really been sliding much, because there's a lot of corrosion around there. So they should be sliding around on there. So what I do to fix this is I clean up the edges here where the pads slide on, and then I take these slider pins out. Oh, this is so hard to do with one hand. There we go. Take those slider pins out, and under here, this one's not as bad as the other side, but still needs some cleaning. See all the pitting and whatnot on there. The other side was way worse, and I actually couldn't force the pads back in, and I had to cram them out of there. So they're, when that situation happens, they're not sliding back and forth in here as they should be. Everything's kind of seized up, and your brakes aren't going to be performing as well as they should be. And the thing that tipped me off to this one doing it is the wear on here. You know, it's supposed to be shiny wear. This has no wear on it yet, and so yeah, it's obvious that one side wasn't making contact. And that's just because those pads were so jammed in there that they couldn't actually slide back and forth. So what I do is I take a file to those contact surfaces that get so built up with rust and pitted and whatnot. I just take a file. Remember to keep your file flat like I didn't here, but keep your file flat and take off all the excess rust and whatnot, and take off all that excess rust, clean up your slider pins, grease these, put grease here and here, so grease in here so this won't corrode as badly, grease in here so that they'll slide back and forth, but just a light coat because you don't want grease on all your brake parts. Slide that back in there, slide this back in here. Like I was saying, clean up the edges of your pads, and then voila, they just slide in. Hard to see from here, but yeah, these just, instead of having to wedge them in now, they just slide in. Wow, this is really difficult to do with one hand. Yeah, those pins you might have to bend back out after you have them in and out a few times because they'll wear a bit. You gotta make sure they slide in, and then go saying these will just slide into place and slide back and forth, rather than having to wedge them in there and not have them move at all. And that'll give you proper movement on your brakes. So slide that pad in there, slide this one in here. Basically now you got them in here, and then when your piston pushes against one side, it'll slide over till it makes contact. Then this whole mechanism will slide on these pins over here, and this one will slide and make contact as it's held in by a stationary piece. So compression, contact, and then the whole mechanism slides, and this makes contact on this side. So you need to have that full range of motion, that all these need to be sliding. I'm going to grease all these up before I put them in, like I mentioned before. Grease all those up, and then everything will slide nice and easy, and you'll get good, proper, even wear on your rotors. So take the extra time, take things all the way apart, clean them up, get all the rust and corrosion off of everything, grease them up. It's amazing what you can fix if you just take the time to take it apart and clean it up, get it back to where it was originally. So that's another Joe's quick and dirty tutorial. Thanks for joining me, and I hope that helps. It could end up saving you a bunch on brake repairs. And you know, I had a mechanic do this last time, and they didn't take the time to do all of this. They just wedged everything back in there, and it obviously, the brakes haven't been working since I got them back. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Hope this helps you out. Peace. I'm out.